Hello, and welcome back to Pillow Talk Movie Reviews. My name is Joshua Charparan Woodard, founder, writer, director here at Emotions Eye Films, where we make short films, learning as we go. So if you get a chance, go check out some of our stuff. Let us know if we're improving or if we're getting worse. Sorry about how I sound. I got a fairly rough sinus infection. But anyway, I want to talk about the new TV show for the Halo series. I'm going to start off by what I like about it, and then I may go into, I guess, some of the controversy. I am a big Halo fan, or let me just say I'm a Halo fan. I'm not into it as much as I used to be. I remember being young and my cousin and his friend was playing this game on this big box, and I was very surprised at how big the world seemed and how the AI would give you all kinds of hell, and it just seemed like they were a part of this bigger battle going on. And I was kind of hooked on Halo after that, as many gamers were. And just like a lot of gamers too, that was the only reason they ever bought an Xbox, and the only reason why I kept buying them for a while. I like the multiplayer, but I'd rather play it, friends on the couch and stuff, or never was really into the online stuff whenever that came. But I was always a story guy, campaign guy. And I think that's ultimately what kind of slowed me down or got me away from playing the games. Halo 2 story was pretty cool with the prophets and whatnot. I loved ODST because it felt like a different game, and you felt like more of a horror game because you didn't have all the abilities. But as I got older, I just realized that the story that is told in the games isn't really that, I guess, magnificent or different layers. Like I said, they did a pretty good job with Halo 2 with the prophets, and I think they did the same thing because I think that continued into Halo 3. But it worked for the game, And I kind of got back into it at Halo 5 because that story plot that I seen, in the trailers seemed interesting. And, I like the whole idea of, I guess that's really when John started really, I guess, becoming more human because of Cortana and getting his humanity more. And so I like all that. And I've always thought, just like many, it would make a good movie or show. Took a long time. We got one. But I didn't want it to be the story that we seen in the games, mainly because I felt like those stories wasn't all that great. But it did work from a game standpoint. You don't have to be too deep in a shooter about aliens and whatnot. But the story with John and Cortana and his, humanity and different stuff, that's always been a little intriguing. So I actually watched the show. Wasn't sure what it was going to be like. I know I read articles where they said that it really wasn't going to follow the game, so I was happy about that. Then I read an article, supposedly they said they didn't even look at the games, but after watching it, either that was misinterpreted or they lied, because there's no way that they did what they did in this show, which there will be spoilers, just so you know. with the show, because there's a lot of fan service for the games with sounds and design, production design straight from the games. And so they had to play some, or at least work with 343 when it comes to that aspect of it. But from my understanding, they went more with the books, and I don't have never read any books, but I like what I saw. I thought it was, the way it opened up was awesome. Showed the Covenant, how brutal they were, and why they needed someone like a Spartans to try to win this war and this battle. I didn't know that there was really like UNSC versus. I always thought that the only thing that UNC and Spartans were fighting were the Covenant and the aliens and stuff, but apparently there was some other side stuff going on, and supposedly in the books they go through that even deeper. But so that was, that was new and interesting, and I like everybody thought that the Spartans wasn't human and they couldn't be killed, and then when they show up, they handle business, and there's all about. I really felt like they wasn't really there trying to save anybody. They were just really there to handle this mission, keep going, kind of like you were in the games. Like you hear this, they're attacking, you take out the threat, and you move on to the next one. No time to save anybody or anything like that. You were just here to eliminate the threat and move on with the mission. So I liked how they showed all that and hinted at that, and I think that's why it pays off whenever he starts learning, or he sees that vision and starts feeling like maybe there's something about my past I don't know about. That's the way they're doing it, because I guess Cortana was kind of the reason for that, but I want to say there was some of that stuff in the games too, but I don't know. I just like that because, even though a lot of people say the UNSC isn't bad portrayed in the games, I feel like sometimes they were, especially Halsey, because when you find out from those little animated shorts or whatever that they made that they took these kids at early ages, basically trained them from a small age to do one thing and obey orders, and then they augment them painfully to be taller and everything. Which on that, I do wish they were 9 feet tall. I thought that would be cool, but I understand why they wouldn't with budgets and, so it's cool. But, so when you start seeing all that and him realizing that, I like that because I've always liked that aspect of it. Him realizing, that something might not be as cool as he thought it was, or something's off, because he believes in fighting. But even though he never showed a ton of emotion, none of them did. None of the Spartans really did, although you kind of felt it to a degree. You always knew there was something more there. So I like that we're exploring that more, supposedly in my research, because I never looked into the books, because I've seen a lot of people complaining about a lot of stuff, so I just wanted to see was there anything viable there, because a lot of people are complaining are coming from the game standpoint and not looking at the overall source material that they're taking it from, because they did say they're not really doing much from the games. So if you get mad because it's not like the games, well, they already told you it wasn't going to be that way. So it's kind of your fault, I guess. Because, I don't like it, when people get mad because, okay, for instance, him taking off his helmet. In the game, it makes sense why you wouldn't do that. you're Master Chief, sort of, so you are seeing this the way you want to see it, and you are Master Chief type thing. But according to what I've looked up, he's always taking his helmet off in the books. A lot of people know what he actually looks like. And I kind of wish, though, that they did go with showing his face in the show, that they went more with the style in the books, because apparently the books say that they had really pale skin, and I imagine he would have scar on his face from battling for years. And so I kind of wish that they did that. Maybe the rest of his body has the normal. I guess it does because it shows it in the intro. But I like the idea of being pale. But, the whole reason why he takes it off in the show makes sense from, trying to gain her trust standpoint, because they always thought and heard that they were not human. So, it makes sense with the narrative they're trying to tell. And again, it's not the games, and I'm glad it's not the games. Because again, even though Halo 2 did a pretty good job with trying to tell like a deeper story, most of the time the stories in Halo games are not anything to be all excited for. And I think most people just play online anyway. But I do play campaign. That's about all I play. But, it's one of the reasons why, like I said, I kind of got away from Halo. And I actually became more of a fan of Gears of War, actually. Because I feel like the storytelling in it is actually better. Which I wouldn't mind seeing a live action show of that. But they would also have to be careful with what they put in a live show, because some of the stuff in the game that they do, especially here, recently, could be a little cheesy. Because there was some cheesy stuff in this Halo show, too. I thought the visual effects was pretty good. Especially, it was really good for a TV show. The writing was okay. I've seen some people say, it's not canon, even though they said that they're going to kind of make their own. They kind of do like a Marvel thing where it's not going to be exactly like it is in the source material, but they'll kind of change it and do some things that work for what they want to tell. So if you don't like the show because the story's not good, or you don't like the story, okay, that's one thing. But I see a lot of people saying they don't like it because it's not like the game, or this is not like this, or this isn't like that. And I just think that's dumb. Like everything doesn't have to be like it is in something else. If you're going to do this media format, don't make it like another one just because. Like, that's boring. That's lazy. Be creative. Now, if what you make as a creative isn't any good and nobody likes it, well, you put your chances out there and it didn't work. But from what I see, I think a lot of hardcore fans are going to come around to this idea. You're going to have some that just won't, but I think most of them will. And then because of them doing it this way, I think there's going to be a lot of newcomers that can come in and get behind this. And I think we'll have a show for a while. Now, that could change. There's only one episode. But I'm excited about what I saw and where it's going to go. Pablo Schreiber, however you say his name, I thought he did well, and I think he's going to do a good job. I think most of the actors and actresses did well. I actually didn't know Lee Relive was his brother, which would make sense with the last name. And I like him a lot. If I ever made a Batman movie, he'd be my Bruce Wayne. But anyway, all in all, I really like the show. I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to see where they take the story and how they play with all the source material that they're using. So on to the negative, from what all the people that are being negative about it anyway. It really burns me up sometimes because I feel like far too often, especially now with the internet, everybody has to say something. Here I am on here telling my little 2 cents, and So, I mean, I feel like everybody has to say something, and some people are just toxic and they write this show off or the story off because they already know it's not going to be what they want, instead of opening up your mind to the idea that this is an interpretation and this is a new story. Let's see what this new story is and where it takes us. Before the show ever comes out, they want to just say, nah, it's going to suck. And then a lot of times when they like that, it doesn't change when it comes out because you're already stuck on it. And you got something you want to prove. And then, of course, nowadays with all this woke stuff, you know, it's either too far one way or too far another way. You know, some shows will force it and they make the show with this in mind, and the story suffers because of it, and I don't like that. And then you have shows like this one, I feel, that isn't trying to be woke, but people see it with woke elements and wanting to say it's a woke show. You know, just because I guess females are in higher positions. It's like that in the game, in the books. There was all kinds of diversity in the game with certain characters. And I'm sure it's that way in the books too, since that's where the game got some of its source material from. So, you know, in the game, what some people don't understand or choose not to or don't open their idea and their mind up to it is when you're making something from a book or some kind of source material, you have to make sure that you adapt it in a way that works with what you are trying to do. So you can do things that work in a video game that does not work well when you transfer it to live action. So I think that's why some people, whether it's true or not, that they said they didn't even look at the games, which I think, like I said, is a lie. Or they just misunderstood what they were saying, because there's no way they didn't look at the video game with how they look, with the sound design. They got a little stuff in there for the fans that really stand out, that they definitely took this from the game. And that should be enough, to my opinion, for the fans of the games. When it comes down to action and how things play and how stuff looks, it's straight from the game. But then when it comes to the story, it's something different. You know, that should be enough. You know, you waited this long. They already said they're not taking it from that. They're going to do their own thing. That should be enough. You're finally getting this on TV or on a, you know. And that's one thing that I feel like sometimes fans just they're not appreciative enough. At least we're getting it. And if it turns out okay, cool, you know, give it a shot before you say, this is terrible. You waited this long for it. And then you think they're ever going to want to do one again? If everybody's like that, nah. But thankfully, I think it's like a 60-something on Rotten Tomatoes. So it's most people have liked what they've seen and want to see where it goes. And I'm definitely one of them. You know, I've seen some videos where people saying, you know, what's your name, Miranda Keys or whatever, his daughter supposedly is also Halsey's, so they got together. And I don't know if that's true or not. Like, is that in the games, the books? Don't know, but apparently it is. But some people were saying, well, that's not right. And then they looked it up when I'm watching their video, and they would come back like, oh no, apparently it is. I didn't know that. That's why I said sometimes you think you know and you don't. You know, I've heard someone say they just don't care about the characters or this universe. They messed it up. And I think that's bullshit. When you look at the detail of the characters, the time they took to make these look like the video game, the sound design straight from the video game, how long they've been working on this. Steven Spielberg was a part of it. So you know how he is about certain things, and they're trying to come up with this wonderful new story within the universe that people would recognize but be different. You could tell how much effort they put into this. Even the visual effects for a TV show is really good. So that person that said that, and other people believe that, you're not looking at it right. You got your little shades on. It doesn't look like the game. It's terrible, or the story isn't like the game. It's terrible. So you need to put that aside. And then another thing was something about on the planet Reach in the video game, it's not canon because in the video game, Master Chief wasn't around. I think supposedly he was frozen somewhere. I can't remember what exactly happened in the game, but again, you're messing up. You're saying in the game. They already said they're not following that story in the game. And from what I looked up, it is canon if you look at from the books. Because supposedly in the books, he was there during that time when all that stuff happened on Planet Reach, which that's probably what they're going to do, which would be cool, towards the end of the season. So all I'm saying is if you say you don't like it because it's not like the game, maybe we need to step back a little bit, especially if you're saying it's not canon at all to any source material. Because again, people who read the books and fans of the books could say that about the video game because apparently they changed that about Reach, So it's all about what you take from the source material that you adapt for your stuff that works for what you're trying to do. For the video game, they wanted you to play with other Spartans and play with them their last days before they die and they're just this last big battle. So they felt probably it'd be best to keep Master Chief out because this is about them. So they changed it. And again, as long as it's good and it feels like Halo, because this does feel like Halo to me, just a different story, just enjoy it. Be proud that you're getting to see this. I mean, him taking off his mask, I think it's good, his helmet, because for those who don't watch, never don't know nothing about it, we'll be able to relate whenever it comes to emotional stuff. Yes, you can show emotion without the face, but it doesn't always work. And I'm going to be real unpopular with what I'm about to say, but I think that's one of the reasons why I just couldn't keep watching Mandalorian. I watched the first season. It was okay. Second season, got a few episodes in. I just couldn't do it. And I think that's one of the reasons why. It just come off boring to me. Like his character is just boring to me. Yes, there's some nice things about his character, but because it seems like it's just one tone throughout the whole thing, I think I liked him better in the movies as this masked, mysterious person that was supposedly a badass. Well, I mean, that was Boba Fett, but you get what I'm saying. It's his kind. Supposedly they have to it's a code to keep the mask on. But to be honest with you, I honestly feel like that show wouldn't work if it wasn't Star Wars. And two, they didn't have what they call the Baby Yoda, because that blew up. Everywhere I looked, there was somebody with a Baby Yoda on the dash of the car or on their windows, a sticker or shirts. It wasn't about really Mandalorian. I mean, there were some people that did that because they liked that, the Boba Fett and that stuff. But even when Boba Fett finally got his own show, supposedly it wasn't any good. Now, I don't know if he took his helmet off or not, and I hadn't seen the show, but it's not as popular. So I feel like if you didn't have Baby Yoda and it wasn't Star Wars, I don't think that show would have worked. But that's just my opinion. So them having his helmet come off, I think it's the only way to do it when you do a live show of this type stuff. And it's not something that I think you should be mad at just because you took it off. Because again, it works in the games. That's the game. Especially when in the core canon material that matters more to me than the game, because that's where the source material came from. he has already taken his helmet off. So you can't say it's not canon because it happens in the books, from my understanding. So if all that is true, you can't be mad about it and start saying it's not canon. Now, you can be disappointed because you rather it be like the game, because that's where you fell in love with it. But that, to me, that's not a reason to say, oh, screw this show. You know, you cannot like it, but to me, if you're a real fan of Halo, that's not one thing that you throw everything else away about. Especially when they did do fan service for people who played the games. And I think they're going to continue to do it every time there's action. They're taking straight stuff from the video games when it comes to action scenes. And that should be enough. Because that's what a game is. You to go play, to have action. Most people didn't even play, like I said, the campaign. They just want to go play online and be badass online. So, I don't know. I guess I just see things differently. But I guess that's all I really have to say about the people who are complaining about this show. Just don't be dumb about it. Like, if you don't like the show because the story sucks or the acting's terrible or you just don't like the way they're going, that's okay. Everybody don't have to like everything. But if you say you don't like it and you don't want it to do well because he shows his face or because the storyline isn't following the game and it's not canon because it doesn't do that, but it is canon because they're following the other source material, you know. But anyway, that's my thoughts. Put your comments down below, what you think about the show. And don't just say you don't like it because it's not like the game. But until next time, see ya.